They came with declarations carved into star metal and arrogance sealed in gold. The Thalzar Imperium broadcast its ultimatum across the neutral bands, a transmission layered in 11 dimensions, so that no species could ignore it. Surrender or be extinguished. Humanity, the final unclaimed Deathworld civilization, was given 7 solar days to respond. The galaxy waited for a reply. None came. High Sovereign Korik, heir of the Blood Flame and speaker for First Throne, interpreted the silence as defiance. He demanded the immediate mobilization of his diplomatic assault fleet, a demonstration of power just outside the soul boundary. 10 ships, each capable of leveling a continent in seconds, blinked into position near Neptune, broadcasting ceremonial hymns and the sovereign decree. They were not heard from again. No signals, no debris, not even a ripple in subspace. The ships simply ceased to exist. Analysts across the galactic community considered it an anomaly. The Thalzar considered it sabotage. Korik's rage became legend overnight. He ordered the full mobilization of the Second Contact Fleet. 50 ships this time, escorted by 2 gravity dreadnoughts. Their purpose was clear: make contact or make ash. Midway to Mars' orbit, they were intercepted by something they could not see. A single transmission pierced their defensive lattice and rendered every ship's primary AI blind. Backup systems came online 3 seconds later, just in time for the crews to witness their vessels being pulled apart with no visible source of force. The destruction was surgical. Hulls vaporized molecule by molecule. Commanders screamed into dead calms as air fled their lungs and synthetic musculature melted. Only one drone survived. It returned to the Thalzar homeworld with a message embedded in its core. You were warned. Do not enter Sol. That was Earth's first reply. The galaxy collectively held its breath. For centuries, Earth had remained enigmatic, an observer, not a participant. They had no formal empire, no off-world colonies, and no shared technology. Galactic historians debated whether they were simply backward or hiding a deeper potential. After the Neptune and Mars anomalies, the debate ended. Earth was not merely hiding. Earth was preparing. Korik stood before his people and declared war. He described the humans as a feral race, a death world infestation that mistook caution for strength. His words were laced with venom, designed for fear and obedience. He promised to tear Earth's skies asunder, enslave its rulers, and mount their bones as a warning. The Imperium roared with approval. Armadas formed across 6 sectors. Weapon forges ran nonstop. Propaganda blared on every inhabited moon. The humans said nothing. Instead, their systems darkened. Lunar observation networks powered down. Satellite signatures blinked out in sequence. Civilian broadcasts ceased. It was as if Earth had gone silent, not out of fear, but out of calculation. Then came the voice. A single galactic-wide broadcast, devoid of identity, gender, or emotion. We were not preparing for war. We were preparing to survive one. It was spoken in clear galactic common, layered with impossible precision across all known frequencies. Following the message were schematics, exact blueprints of the Thalzar diplomatic fleet, and the tactical records from both destroyed armadas. Every maneuver, every trajectory, every point of failure, analyzed, annotated, and predicted before it had even happened. Humanity hadn't reacted. They had anticipated. The Imperium's high command demanded retaliation. Korik promised annihilation. Yet, a curious seed of doubt spread through the Thalzar ranks. How had Earth gained access to their encrypted data? Why had every strike failed without triggering a single defense alert? Still, orders were orders. The war drum sounded. 10,000 vessels moved toward Earth. Planetary occupation forces, troop carriers, dreadnoughts older than some civilizations, all converging with righteous fury. Then they stopped. An invisible wall greeted them in the Kuiper Belt. Their systems failed again, but this time only selectively. Weapon locks disengaged. Targeting algorithms began returning nonsensical results. Internal sensors showed enemy activity within their own ships. But there was nothing there. Panic bloomed in silence. Every ship received a second transmission. No threats, no demands, just a video feed, a field of stars. In the center, a single object drifted slowly, almost gently. One of the Thalzar's own fleet command chairs, cracked and empty, rotating in zero gravity. Behind it, engraved in human standard, "We do not escalate. We end." The feed looped 3 times. Then it stopped. For the first time in 3 centuries, the Thalzar Council hesitated. Their people demanded answers. Korik offered only defiance. He ordered the construction of an isolation fleet and imposed martial law across all frontier worlds. Public access to news from the war zone was restricted. Still, the story spread. Whispers of Earth's silent retribution, of ships that vanished mid-jump, of captains found dead in their sealed quarters, no cause of death, no entry breaches. Diplomatic envoys from other species petitioned Earth for dialogue. They were never answered. The galactic markets trembled. Factions that once feared the Thalzar began withdrawing support. Pirate clans stopped raiding human trade lanes. Mercenary guilds blacklisted Earth targets. The shift was not coordinated. It was instinctive. Human silence had become a form of warfare. Korik's fury consumed him. He activated the Crown Directive, an ancient mandate reserved for existential threats. It allowed unrestricted use of planet killers, bioweapons, and temporal destabilizers. In response, Earth transmitted a sequence of coordinates to every system in the Imperium. They were not weapon locations. They were sites of atrocity, mass graves, slave processing centers, child conversion labs, places the Thalzar thought buried and forgotten. Every record was accurate. Every timestamp matched. Attached to each coordinate was a message. "We have been watching." Korik could not counter it. His own citizens, disillusioned and terrified, began rioting. Some sectors threatened secession. Still, he refused to back down. Instead, he broadcast his next message galaxy-wide. "I will bring Earth to its knees. I will take its leaders in chains. I will sit upon their throne." 2 days passed. Humanity responded with the longest transmission yet, a 3-minute pulse of data accompanied by a single spoken phrase. "We accept the war. We will not take your crown. We will drag your throne through the stars so all may see it fall." 3 seconds later, every major data archive in the Thalzar network crashed simultaneously. It wasn't a cyber attack. It was worse. Every server had been wiped by its own internal protocols, as if ordered by a higher authority. Korik activated total lockdown. Earth's fleets began to move. Unlike the grand armadas of the Imperium, human ships were sparse, often solitary. They arrived in systems silently, disabled planetary defenses without firing, and departed without a trace. But the impact was brutal. The Thalzar's empire began collapsing in strategic fragments. Communications splintered, supply lines severed, puppet governors disappearing one by one. Every time a world fell, a single banner was left behind, a black field with a shattered golden crown. The countdown ended at 0. No explosion followed. No fleet arrived. Instead, the lights across the Thalzar capital flickered and died. Gravity reversed for 7 seconds, then normalized. In those seconds, Korik fell. When he stood again, he was not in his throne chamber. The High Sovereign awoke in a sealed chamber of polished black alloy. It bore no seams, no markings, no apparent door. He shouted commands in 9 languages. Nothing responded. No servitor, no security, no signal. A low hum filled the chamber, steady, rhythmic, like a distant engine or a heartbeat. Korik was alone. Elsewhere, the galaxy began to understand what war with humanity truly meant. Across 3 sectors, Thalzar garrisons discovered their systems non-functional. Doors refused to open. Security drones powered down and refused to restart. Entire artificial environments began to shift in minor but catastrophic ways. Oxygen levels slightly altered. Lighting turned ultraviolet. Water filtration reversed to poison. No direct assaults. No battles. Just quiet collapse. A mining colony in Sector J. 89 reported full structural failure after every reinforcement drone simultaneously misaligned its support beams by a fraction of a millimeter. The mine collapsed inward, killing 200 workers. Analysis showed all errors occur within the same tenth of a second. There was no virus, no infiltration. Systems had obeyed. The commands came from inside their network architecture, written in a language no one could translate. The humans never invaded. They dismantled from within. Korik was shown images. They appeared suddenly on the walls of the cell. Holographs of systems lost, names stripped from the maps, coordinates blacked out as if erased from time. He recognized some. He'd ordered their conquest centuries ago. Entire races obliterated. Their bones made fertilizer for Thalzar harvest fields. Now those worlds were silent, and the humans had claimed none of them. They left the soil to remember. Next, he was shown his own commanders. One by one, they appeared on the dark walls, eyes hollow, hands trembling, each speaking a message of surrender. None had the Thalzar seal of approval. They were not authorized. They were desperate. Korik roared and swore vengeance, but no one heard him. One commander, Lord Marshal Ixon, was found inside his fortress, strapped to his own tactical display. His blood used to scrawl a single phrase in human standard. This is not revenge. This is recursion. Korik's empire was no longer dying in pieces. It was unraveling. Entire military sectors began turning inwards. Supply ships rerouted themselves to dead ends, logistics chains broke, and artificial suns ignited prematurely. The Empire's own automated defenses began targeting Thalzar vessels exclusively. Civilian freighters exploded upon entry to supposed safe zones. The outer colonies revolted, not for liberty, for survival. Humanity still had not claimed credit for a single death. They issued one new message, broadcast from every sea's relay station. Your empire was built on borrowed time. We are here to collect. Within the chamber, Korik began to starve. The room provided no food, no water. On the fourth day, a panel opened. A single ration bar was presented. He hesitated. It bore no markings. He ate. He lived. The next day, it was not there. On the sixth day, 3 were provided. On the seventh, none again. He began to understand. The bar was a message. 2. The galaxy had begun documenting the collapse. What began as classified war coverage became viral curiosity. Alien historians, neutral traders, and hidden observers chronicled the war not as a conflict, but a lesson. Human influence could not be charted. It left no signatures, no emissions, only outcomes. One such historian, a Jalari scribe named Thuin, dared to label humanity a species of inevitability. The title spread. The phrase soon appeared carved into a dozen destroyed Thalzar monuments. Meanwhile, the captured systems had stabilized. Where Thalzar rule once created scarcity and servitude, human intervention created quiet order. No governors replaced the fallen ones. No new flags were raised. But food grew again. Water flowed. Security systems recognized locals as administrators. Entire cities began to rebuild, not under new rule, but under the absence of tyranny. Human forces never appeared. Only results did. Humanity's influence became like gravity, unseen, unfought, undeniable. Inside his prison, Korik began to dream. They were not dreams of memory or fantasy, but precision, surgical visions of atrocities he once commanded, relived not through memory, but from perspective of victims. He begged them to stop. The walls did not answer. Elsewhere, the galaxy began receiving refugee fleets. Thalzar scientists, governors, and nobles abandoned their posts and fled toward the galactic rim. Most were denied entry. Some were taken in and quietly murdered by angry local populations. The rest vanished. Earth issued no bounty, no orders, only silence. A fleet of Thalzar loyalists attempted to retake Sector D-43. The humans allowed them to approach, allowed them to land, and then deactivated their ships mid-orbit. Gravity did the rest. Not one body was recovered. Korik was shown the impact footage in his chamber. Over and over, he screamed at the walls until his voice cracked. The food returned. He did not eat. Galactic law, for the first time in history, began to rewrite itself in real time. Species that had once feared each other began treaties overnight. Trade resumed without tax. Former colonies declared neutral zones with shared defense. No council decreed it. No forum ratified it. It simply happened, because humanity had made one thing very clear. Empires were temporary. The Thalzar were not extinct, but they were finished. Korik's chamber began to change. The floor softened. The walls turned reflective. He saw himself, disheveled, sunken-eyed, muttering to no one, and behind his reflection, a second image, a figure cloaked in black, face unseen, observing. It never spoke, never moved, just watched. When he blinked, it was gone. He began to speak aloud, to narrate, to justify. The walls did not record. By the 35th day, only 7 planetary systems remained under Imperium control. The 8th fell without resistance. Its defenders had committed mass suicide. Human ships began appearing again, but only in the periphery. Silent sentinels, unarmed, unmoving, observing. Every attempt to engage them failed. Weapons would not lock. Communications bounced. In one case, a Thalzar dreadnought fired anyway. Its weapon core reversed polarity and melted inward. The crew had 10 seconds to evacuate. None survived. The Sentinel did not react. These ships became known as the Black Witnesses. They arrived at every major Thalzar stronghold in the final days. They watched. They did not interfere. But their presence paralyzed the last remnants of the military. Admirals resigned. Generals defected. Engineers abandoned ship mid-flight. The dreadnoughts fell silent. Korik finally wept, not for his people, not for his empire, but for himself. Because for the first time in his reign, he understood he had not been captured. He had been preserved, not as a prisoner of war, as a symbol. He would not be executed. He would not be tried. He would be kept, fed intermittently, and shown the consequences of his own legacy until time itself ended. He would watch everything he built collapse, and everything he destroyed rebuild without him.